Welcome to episode 491 of the Recruitment Marketing and Sales Podcast. And I'm not exactly your host today because Sharon has recorded another interview, which we thought would be really useful for those of you moving into the new year and wondering about what could you do when it comes to looking after your candidates. And so we've interviewed one of our amazing clients, Sandra Karamitelios, who is based over in Brisbane. And Sandra, I always call you Sandra. I very rarely use your surname, so I'm just hoping that I pronounced it correctly. And Sandra is absolutely a ninja when it comes to candidate care. So we wanted to get her on a call and to talk through some of the things that she's doing, how she works with the candidates, how she makes such a huge difference to them in what can be a very challenging market. So you imagine you've landed your dream role, you're excited, nervous, ready to prove yourself. You turn up on day one and there's no computer, there's no login, there's no desk, and your manager isn't even there. You know, how valued would you feel? So in today's episode, we're diving into candidate aftercare with Sandra. And Sharon's interviewed Sandra. As I said, she's based in Australia. Her company is Recruitment Central. And she's transformed what used to be a classic tick box exercise into something that genuinely is making a huge difference. We'll explore why a lot of companies fall down on aftercare, the real impact of poor onboarding on your candidates. And also Sandra's given us her 3-step framework for standing out, creating a consistent timeline, building feedback loops that reveals what candidates really think and adding a genuine value at every touch point. So a lot of people are talking about differentiation at the moment. And if you want to differentiate your company in a crowded market and turn aftercare from an obligation into a competitive advantage, then this conversation is for you. And as always, there's full transcript and we have a video of the lovely Sandra, which you can access on our website. And it's also on our YouTube channel as well. So let's get into it. Welcome to the Recruitment Marketing and Sales Podcast. An obsessive focus on marketing and sales is the only way to accelerate your company growth. So listen in now as we share the latest strategies and techniques guaranteed to deliver you more placements and profits.
Well, good evening, Sandra, and welcome to the Recruitment Marketing and Sales Podcast.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just going to do an intro to all of yourself, but really, I'd love for you to talk a little bit more and share with our listeners your background and your business and where you're based as well. So, Sandra Karamitelios, and you are from the lovely sunny part of Australia, which you can tell. Here I am in winter garb, and there you are still in lovely summer. It's heading into summer, I think, in your part of the world, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe just for our viewers, just share a little bit about you, your business, and then we'll get into today's conversation, which is going to be really interesting for listeners because I think it's an area where companies have a great opportunity to stand out and differentiate themselves because we're talking about candidate aftercare today. And I know this is something you're quite passionate about. Tell us a little bit about yourself first.
So I'm actually a Kiwi, but I live in Australia. Yeah, I might stay for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And so I literally, like most people, I fell into recruitment a little bit accidentally. I got a job in a recruitment agency. Next minute, the temp girl went on annual leave and it was like, Sandra, you can run a temp desk. Of course I can. So it just kind of snowballed from there, and I was with an agency for a little while doing all sorts of things. And then I kind of accidentally had this opportunity to set up my own company, which I had never really wanted to do. I grew up in a family business and I didn't want to own my own business.
Right.
But here I am. Many years later, we started in 2003. So we work across the shared services sector, so anything operational, accounting, HR, those sorts of things, and we have a big focus on temporary staff. So, yeah, we're based in Brisbane, but we recruit mostly Australia-wide. Generally, we do more sort of Sydney, Brisbane than anything else. That tends to be a bit of our sweet spot.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic. And so I guess before we get into the detail of the work that you've been doing around candidate aftercare, what was it that about this subject that got your attention and made you decide, I'm going to do something about this?
So we've always had an aftercare program. It's always something that the business has had, but it was just a little bit loose. So it was the usual follow up on the first day and the first month and month 3 and month 6 and those kinds of things. But I sort of just felt like I was ringing people saying, how's it going? And I just felt like I was being a bit repetitive. And I guess the gap for me was that we were doing these check-ins, but no one was really offering anything helpful to our candidates. So it was the recruiters would ring up and hi, and yeah, everything's fine, but there was no structure or depth to what we were doing. And then one day I sat down and I thought, okay, I really want to fix this program because I just feel so bored when I do it. And I thought about all of the things that I'd heard from people about their first day, about starting a new job, also from managers, what they'd heard about people coming on board for their team.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm just going to sit down and think about all of those things. And look, the same thing kept coming up. And it was things like, I didn't have a computer ready. There were no logins. My manager wasn't there on my first day. I didn't know where to park my car. So lots of little things that people kind of got a little bit offside sometimes, or a candidate would turn up and they didn't even bring a notebook to write notes for their first day or something like that. So I just started thinking about how I could add some value. But me being me, I couldn't stop at just the first day. It had to be the first week, then the first month. And then I thought, well, what else can we do? So I just started adding more and more things in that I thought people who I put myself in their shoes and thinking, how would I feel and what would help me have a better situation starting a new job or managing a new person.
And when you're just thinking about, let's just take some of those first day things that you mentioned, because I've kind of like heard a few stories really when we've had people. I mean, what impact does it have when you've talked to your candidates that you've placed in these businesses? What have they said about, I guess, they're excited, they're showing up for their first day, and then whatever happens, what are they saying?
Mostly they feel undervalued. So they've gone through this recruitment process. They might have had 2 or 3 interviews. They've gone for a coffee with the manager. They're really excited. And they're a bit nervous on their first day. They don't know anybody, expectations, those kind of things. And then when they turn up and there's no login, no computer, no desk. A couple of weeks ago, there was no manager for the first day. So they just feel like they were really valued and then they dropped the ball. So mostly they feel undervalued. That's really, I think, when most people come in. And they also can feel a little bit lost because they're going in and they have to prove themselves. I've come in to do this job. And they get there and they don't have any of the tools to do their job, or no one's really there to help them. Little things like, did someone show them around for the first day? And did someone say that it's a really quiet office and nobody talks to each other? We all email on WhatsApp, or just those kind of rules of engagement. And that's, people feel let down. I guess you could say.
Yeah. And so I guess from a recruitment agency perspective, if we just kind of like flip the coin for a second, in your experience, because you've been in this industry for 20 plus years now, where have recruitment agencies tended to fall down in this aftercare area? And then we'll talk about what you've done to address that.
So I think they fall down because maybe they're a bit like us, not enough structure, not knowing what to say when they ring. But also there's probably that feeling of there's nothing in it for them. So
Right.
are they going to be really getting any kind of return on investment? Yes, they need to follow up to look after their guarantee period or whatever it's going to be. But they're not really getting paid for looking after those candidates. I mean, I wish I did. I've got a candidate that's been somewhere 23 years. I would love to get paid for every year she stayed. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
But I think that they often just don't sort of think about it too much. And also sometimes once someone's been placed in a job by a recruiter, there's almost that feeling from the candidate sometimes that they don't need us anymore. We've done our job. They've got the job. Thanks very much. You were lovely. It was a great interaction. But a bit like the checkout operator at the supermarket, lovely when you see them every week. Hello, Susie, lovely to see you. And then if someone said, what's the checkout person's name? You'd probably go, I can't remember.
Yeah.
And I think recruiters can be a little bit like that. I think that's probably where it goes wrong. But personally, I think you should be really investing in this because this is where you build on those relationships, which I know is something you love really talking about, is keeping those relationships. And the cost of it going wrong, first of all, you could have a fallout and have to replace for free.
Yeah.
But I think this is where you really build. Candidates will tell you what's going on. There's new recruitment coming up, or you get introduced to other managers and you're really consolidating on.
I guess it's, as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about, and I know that you and I will have talked about it, is that it's that evolution, isn't it, from the transactional recruitment approach through to whether you want to call it more strategic approach, a consultative approach, adding value. But it's kind of like, I think when I was thinking of out of sight, out of mind, when you were talking about the person, the teller in the grocery store that you see on a weekend or anything. And that's not what you want, because that's the transactional thing, isn't it? Whereas here, what we're talking about is one of the areas where actually you can begin to, you are adding value and you're moving it beyond that. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because what you were saying as well is that actually you're having strong relationships with these candidates where you are keeping in touch and adding value, actually gaining something from it, because it's intelligence, isn't it? About the business, as you say, what's happening, which creates opportunity. And also, I suspect that perhaps there's times when, because you've had such a strong aftercare, that it allows you that opportunity to really find out early if something's not quite right and not working.
100%,
So you either nip it in the bud, or you know that actually if that person decides, you know what, this is not the right culture or whatever, that you're the person they're coming back to say, look, I need to look somewhere else.
Exactly. So I mean, I've got 1,000 stories of things, little things that have gone wrong that haven't seemed like a big deal at the time, but probably were a deal breaker. And I'll never forget one candidate who stayed in a role for 8 years. But the first month that I phoned her, all that through that first month, client happy, candidate happy, everything wonderful. And at the end of the first month, she said to me, oh yeah, but if you just ever do see anything closer to home, give me a call and let me know, won't you? And I just had this massive alarm bell. Wow. So instead of saying, oh, sure, I asked her why. And it was literally because her train timetable didn't match the company hours by 15 minutes. And instead of saying something to her boss, she was like, oh, I'm new. I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to be a problem. And all it took was me just ringing her boss and saying, hey, did you know that she's got a train timetable that doesn't match your work schedule? And he just went, oh, well, we'll just change it. That's not difficult. Problem solved. 8 years she stayed. I think she left to have a baby in the end. So, yeah, but, it was a great outcome for such a silly little thing.
Yeah. So we know that this is important. It can have a huge impact for the candidate and for the recruitment company as well as the business if this isn't got right in the first place. So for you, with, I guess, all the stories that you have experienced and everything, what do you now see then, Sandra, as gold kind of like sort of star candidate aftercare? What would that look like?
So I don't think there's necessarily gold standard. It's not about necessarily having that perfect process or just ticking off all the boxes and having some automation run in a CRM that runs like a robot. I think it's about sitting back and thinking about what works for your client base.
Right.
So, I mean, if you've got, say, geotechs that are off on site, fly in, fly out to mining sites, well, you're not going to be able to ring them all the time. So you've got to think about what adds value for you.
Yeah.
But for us, our gold standard starts before they even start in their job. We call it a pre-start. And that's where we'll send them an email saying congratulations, et cetera, et cetera. We also include a survey in there to survey how they went through the process, but also what they thought about our service.
Yeah.
And then we also give them this first day cheat sheet. And it lists down all the things that they can think about for their first day to get through if they're nervous, how to get rid of the nerves, what kind of questions they can ask, what to take with them, etc. So that's pre-start. And we always ring them on their first day at the end of the day. And we actually they don't know it's a structured survey, but we run a structured survey that asks them a series of questions about how things went on their first day.
Right.
And we balance this off with both the client and the candidate. So the client also gets a pre-start email saying, have you thought about having a computer ready on their desk, having their email login set up through the IT department? How much notice does the IT department need to set that up? So we're doing a counterbalance on all of them. And then each stage as we go through, they get something from us. So month 2, the candidates get this how to have a great day email. And it's kind of it's a little bit woo, but it's maybe you could do a meditation or how to combat stress and things like that. Right. Sometimes month 2 can be the time in a job where you've gone through I'm the new kid on the block and everybody's being nice to me and now I have to deliver, and that you could start to feel a little bit of pressure there.
Yeah.
So with the client, we send them how to manage a new hire, how to be an effective leader with a new hire in month 2.
Yeah.
Month 4, we send both of them our probation preparation guide. And this is probably my most favorite thing that we've done, because in Australia, we have probation at month 6. I'm not sure about the UK, how it works.
It can vary, but, commonly 6 months would be similar.
So here it's legal, it's 6 months and that's the end of it.
Right.
So, but most people I find they get to say the last week of the 6th month and they're like, we're supposed to have done this probation meeting, and then it's all a bit too late. So I always like to say to people, think about it from month 4. And for the candidate, we've given them a little guide that says, what is your real job? What are you supposed to be delivering? Things like, what are you good at? What would you like to be better at? And we do the same thing for the manager, thinking about, are they the right fit? What's going wrong? Have you spoken to other people in the department to see if they're delivering for you, so that they can make adjustments before probation and help the person through. And also the candidate can maybe stop and go, hang on a minute, I need to think about this a little bit better.
Yeah.
So month 6, and then we do annual follow-ups and so on and so forth. So that's kind of our gold standard process, but it does depend on the person. So like recently I had a candidate, he was in week 6 and things weren't going super well with his manager and the communication, and she asked to meet with him. And the way that he described the meeting and what she'd said, I felt like he was starting on performance management. So I said to him, listen, I think you need to sit down and really think about what you're delivering and what you want. So I sent him that preparation for probation at 6 weeks.
Early, yeah.
So obviously now I can't then set that up in the CRM to go at 4 months, hello, here's your probation guide and happy days, because he's going to think I'm insane because I've already sent it.
Yeah.
So that's why you need to have that human side to it, and also think a little bit about who you're dealing with.
Yeah. And that, what you've described there, obviously is, yes, there's elements you can automate, but it is a bespoke process at the same time. Otherwise, the whole relationship part of this kind of like falls down, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Which kind of like does make me think, how do you balance that maintaining the relationship with the commercial pressures of you running a business as well?
So in theory, I block time every week just to do the check-ins.
Yeah.
But, in theory, in recruitment, it's a whole different universe, right? So,
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
yeah. So, but I do look, it's a really important part of our placement process. And I also see it as part of our sales cycle. So, whilst there could be some weeks where it might get a bit away from me, and some months you have a lot of candidates to follow up, and other months it's quieter. So I do try to kind of keep it balanced, but it's being disciplined about following that up and treating it as part of your sales process, not as something that you just have to do and you don't really want to do it. And that's why I think having some kind of structured process with some ideas on real things you can talk about, just like in any sales conversation. I mean, if you pick up the phone in a sales conversation and go, "Hey, Sharon, how's your recruitment going?" You're going to get crickets on the other end of the line,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So you do always need to ring with something to talk about.
Yeah.
And that's where I found I was going. I was literally kind of going, "How's the candidate?" Kind of getting crickets. So having something real to talk about. What have they been able to deliver for you in the past 4 months? Are you happy with where their training is up to? Is there anything they could have delivered better for you? So really having these structured questions, and it helps the recruiters as well when they pick up the phone to do those calls, because they're not going, "Oh, I've got to remember this candidate, and they might have done 20 other candidates since then."
Yeah.
So it is balancing the commercial side. You're not getting paid, but it is part of your sales still.
Yes. Yeah. No, absolutely.
I don't know that I really answered that. It's kind of a bit chicken and egg.
No, it does actually. And it leads quite nicely onto something else I was thinking about, because I can absolutely get your point about making it an integral part of the sales process, because you never know with that client when the next opportunity to work with them on a placement is going to come up. So that's kind of like ongoing. So that makes complete sense. And then you always want to be the person, the business that the candidate comes back to, whether that's in 12 months, 24 or 8 years. You want them to kind of like come back to you, don't you? But you did allude to, obviously, being able to automate some things, but you can't automate everything, because it is individual, and it can be market, sector dependent, as well as roles, I suppose. But what role have you found technology has got in this process for you?
Speaking of the challenges that we discuss on this podcast around attracting the clients that you want and the candidates to fill the roles that you get, it's a competitive market. And Sharon and I have taken some time away from the business to actually put together something that will help you figure out exactly where you stand with your marketing right now. Now, we've created a quick assessment specifically for recruitment search and staffing business owners just like you, and it's designed to help you identify whether you're effectively attracting both clients and candidates with your current marketing approach, or if there are some gaps that you need to address. Now, this quiz will just take a few minutes, and it'll give you a picture of where your marketing is working and where it might be falling short. Because to be honest, in a market where 87% of companies are struggling with skills gaps and candidates are ghosting left, right and centre, your marketing really does need to be spot on. And when you've taken this assessment, we will email you your personalised PDF. So it's personalised to you, and it's related to the scores that you achieve and where you fit in a ranking, and what we know works when people are low on one score or high on another. And I think you'll find that incredibly useful too. So if you want to know and find out about your marketing, how it stacks up, then go to superfastrecruitment.co.uk/scorecard, and that will take you to a page. Put your name and email address in there, and then you'll go straight into the quiz. And again, it only takes a few minutes. Trust me, it's worth the time, especially if you feel like you're not achieving the results that you want currently with the market the way that it is, and you really want to assess where you are so you can make some changes. So let's get back to that podcast.
I would never be able to do this without technology. I would never remember all of these things, or my diary would be a disaster. So we use a CRM, and
Yep.
it has kind of a Kanban system and a workflow. So you basically put someone into the pre-start. That there actually is an automation in there where it sends out that email automatically out of the system. Then you move them through month 1, month 2, month 3. And along the way, there are some automations.
Yeah.
But I could not do it without technology.
No.
And we've utilized, I know a lot of people use SurveyMonkey and things like that, but we've actually utilized Microsoft 365, the forms.
Oh, right. Yeah.
We're already paying for Office 365, so it's free. So no other subscription. Thanks very much for coming. And I really like the Microsoft Form system because it downloads into a really nice spreadsheet. You can really easily take those survey comments from forms and use them as part of your testimonials.
Of course,
You're
yeah.
always telling us to do on your social media. So that's really good for that. But technology is 100% needed. Unless you're going to run a big spreadsheet and be a spreadsheet guru, I don't know how else you would do it with dates and follow-ups.
Yeah. And I mean, let's say in terms of, obviously there is a lot of effort that goes into this. How do you, and how do you think business recruitment owners can measure ROI from the time and the effort and the energy that you're putting into this? Where do you start?
Look, I think it's a really good question. And my honest answer would be, I don't think you can see the ROI in a traditional sense. You can't just go, I made 25 check-in calls with placements and I got $50,000.
Yeah.
But you're not going to get a neat little spreadsheet. But for me, your return on aftercare is going to be what doesn't go wrong. You're going to see retention. You're going to see less turnover of placements. So because you're going to pick up on little things before things can go wrong.
Yeah.
I think you're also going to see the ROI in the trust, which will come from your repeat business. So you'll see that perhaps a customer that ordered off you once every 3 years is coming back continuously, and they're no longer maybe going to another agency to see what they might have on their books.
Yeah.
Don't we love that word?
Yes.
But in saying that, we definitely do use data. 100% we do use data. So we take from the surveys that we send, we look at how many 5 out of 5s are we getting, 4 out of 5s, etc. What are the retention rates, repeat business? So we are looking at those numbers coming in from clients. So you can see that. Whether you could attribute it directly to your placement aftercare program, I don't know. But I do know that clients who feel looked after stay loyal to you, and candidates that have had a great experience become future hiring managers. So it might be hard to put a number on it, but I definitely think you'll see the return is less churn, more trust, and more repeat business.
Yeah. So there are absolutely no clear metrics. I mean, obviously there's survey metrics that you can use, but then the metrics that you mentioned. And even though it might be a case of measuring what's not gone wrong, that actually leads to things going right, doesn't it? I think that's
sometimes if you're in an agency where you're doing a lot of hiring, then your placement churn can be a lot higher.
Yeah.
Touch wood and all of those superstitious things. We probably get one a year that falls out from our candidates that we place. One too many, but nobody's perfect.
No.
And I do think that happens because we are on top of things with our candidates and our clients.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, just from, let's say, part of my background has been involved with businesses doing a lot of leadership coaching and training. And we always used to talk about a model of contribution. And it's where, whether it's a new employee or whether it's someone that's been promoted into a new role, that we go through this process of actually for a period of time, we're very dependent on the manager, colleagues to a degree. Can I be very clear about what are we doing? What are the expectations? And then that transitions into, once you've got a sense of this is what my role is, this is what the systems and processes are, then you can transition into becoming independent and really then starting to let your skill set come to the fore within the new systems and processes. And it's interesting because when you think about what you've described, certainly in my experience, if people are not shifting from that dependent phase into becoming independent, within that probation period time, that's when things really start to go wrong. And I think what is great, what you're describing, is that you've got what you put in place is really supporting people in this kind of like early stage, because fundamentally we don't want people to be dependent on a manager or colleagues for too long. We get that they've got to learn everything about the role, what's expected of them, systems, the process and everything, but we're hiring them, aren't we? Because we want them to bring their skill set and to contribute in the way that they can. So I can really see why it has the impact that you're describing. So thinking then about perhaps any particular creative ways, because you're part of a big network of colleagues, any sort of creative ways perhaps that's been a little bit out of the norm that you've thought, that's really good, something that maybe you could share with listeners?
Look, no.
That's
Probably
fine.
no. Probably no. Look, lots of people send flowers or coffee cups or, I don't know, journals. There's all sorts of things that people send to their candidates for their first day to say congratulations on the new job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And look, it's lovely. It's really nice to receive those things. It's never been our style to do that. I'm just really bad at thinking of ideas for gifts and things like that. So it's just not my kind of creative thing.
Yeah.
But I sometimes feel like real connection doesn't really always come from gifts or gestures. I think it comes from relevance and about being useful and being human and showing up at the right moments for people.
Yeah.
And being there for them. So I don't think that it's anything amazing. What I do think works is being consistent, tailoring things to who you're working with. So when I talked about that person that had the probation problem and it sounded like a performance management, that's what I mean by tailoring, is going, okay, I know my process that I've got. I'm not at month 4, I'm at month 6, but I can tailor it. And I think that's where you can be more creative, is that you can actually be there for that person.
Yeah.
But you've got a structure that you can quickly draw from rather than going, oh, what am I going to say now?
Yeah.
So, I don't know that I can give you anything amazing. For us, overall, it's about being thoughtful, consistent contact, having those milestone calls and anniversary check-ins and short surveys and following up with the resources that people find are useful. And the only thing that I probably didn't mention to you before that I should have said, it's educating these people to know that you're going to be doing this. So when a long time ago, but when I first started doing this sort of thing, I would just ring and be like, hey, Sharon, how's your job going? And the person would be like, why is Sandra ringing me? Is something wrong? Has my manager rung? If they made a complaint about me, why is the recruiter getting in touch? So now we send out an email that says, congratulations, you now are part of our aftercare program. And these are the things we're going to do for you. And we do the same with the client. So because we also had managers that would see their candidate on the phone with the recruiter going, why is the recruiter, are they trying to poach them out, right?
Yeah.
We've all heard the horror stories of recruiters that go in after a year and pinch out really hard to place candidates after 12 months.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, so really, I mean, that's one thing that I probably should have mentioned is education on your process and why you're doing it.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of clients that have said to me, listen, Sandra, it's really lovely that you want to do that. Thank you very much. Not what we need. We have an amazing HR team that onboard to the nth degree. It's just extra emails. Thank you, but no thank you. They're not in the process.
Yeah. And I mean, and from your perspective, I mean, that's great on the one hand that they are organized and they've got strong systems in there to support people. How do you then kind of like manage that? Because obviously you want to kind of like be able to have some touch points with those individuals. So it's balancing the client then with candidates.
So as in all sales roles, you negotiate. So, in that situation, when these things kind of come up with clients and they say, look, we don't really want a phone call at month 1 and month 2 and blah, blah. I'll just say to them, listen, that's fine. I will still do quick check-ins with you because we've obviously guaranteed this candidate. Therefore, we have an investment in both of you. And so we would still like to be part of your circle. And when they understand that, that's fine. And I can do a quick phone call. How's it going? Is everything all right? But I'm not going to send how to be a great manager checklist or how to manage your new person, etc. So,
which is kind of like, it's very much back to your point right at the outset was personalization, being flexible and being able to respond. That definitely is certainly coming across very strongly.
If I was, say, a recruiter in the blue collar sector, is that what you call it in the UK as well?
Yes.
Labour and trades,
Industrial,
so I was hiring in the blue collar sector, which is very fast. People are in and out quite quickly. And then they might start as a driver and then next minute they're into the warehouse and those kinds of things. I would probably look at things a little bit differently because when it's that speed of service, you can't tailor as much as you can, say, in a niche sector. But you could automate a lot of it with little things that are easy to not look like you're just being a robot. And you may not send things that are as in-depth like checklists and things like that. It could be just a quick little, hello, just checking in on these things. If you'd like to do this survey, that kind of thing could be fun stuff.
And I mean, we've been obviously talking about all the different things that you can do to ensure that a placement is successful for the candidate and for the client. And there's going to be times when a placement doesn't work out. So maybe you can just speak into that. How should agencies handle aftercare conversations in that context?
So for me, it always starts with kindness and empathy because you've got both sides of the fence that are going to be stressed, disappointed, angry, or whatever it's going to be. You're dealing with an emotion. So just stopping and listening. And I mean really listen, just let them talk. Listen to both sides before you do anything else. And I think it's really important not to react to that emotion and get caught into it. But once you've done that and you've listened to both sides, you need to act fast. So the longer that you leave a problem, the harder it is to turn around. And I think when you separate the emotion from fact and you focus on a solution and you never get caught up in the blame, then everyone's going to kind of come through with whatever that outcome's going to be. Right? It might be it's going to work out, or it might be that you're offering to do a replacement and then you're helping the candidate that might have been let go to fix up their resume, help them with the job search again, give them a bit of, support, cheer, or whatever. Yeah. And for me, a placement that doesn't work out doesn't have to mean that the relationship's over. I think how you handle that often builds more trust with your client, especially because they're going to see that you're there for the tough moments and it gives you a chance to really show your true values.
I think, and I love the clarity around separating emotion from fact and look for the solution, because it's so easy, I think, on both sides, the client and the candidate, if you're not careful, to be drawn into the drama of the story.
Exactly.
Great bit of advice there. Keep the emotion to one side, deal with the facts, look for a solution. There must be a really good acronym there, Sandra. I like that, the little process.
Put it in ChatGPT and ask it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So, I mean, look, if there's an owner listening who thinks a little bit like you mentioned at the beginning, that we could do better, we could be slicker, we could add more value. Let's say, thinking of, there's always this thing about the power of 3. What would be the top 3 recommendations that you might have for someone who really wants to take their aftercare to another level? What would they prioritize?
I think the first thing I would always put in is actually just a process timeline. So create a structure that works for your business. The fact that I'm doing start week 1, month 1 may be completely irrelevant depending on what you're recruiting for and who you're placing, but make it that it's something that you can actually stick to. If you make it every single week, you'll probably fall down.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think every agency can adapt to what suits their personal rhythm within their business and just be consistent with that timeline, actually stick to it. And if you go bigger first, you can always add more steps in as you go, but you can start with that overview and then go, oh, that's really working nicely, and add in more.
Yeah.
The second thing I would have would be some kind of survey or feedback loop. So people on the phone may not always tell you what they really want to say, but I find that they will always say it on some kind of feedback or survey, especially where you give them free rein to write something about something. Yeah. People will generally always write something in there. I'm always surprised at what people will write.
Interesting.
I think that would be the other thing.
Yeah.
And you don't have to, I think a lot of people use Office 365. Gmail also, the G Suite also has tools that you can use. You don't need to be adding another subscription and another piece of software into your repertoire. Like I said, we use Forms and it's super, super easy. And that also, having survey and feedback, that allows you to collect data. So you can actually then start to see what's happening. Like if you're getting lots of ones on how on a first day with a client that you've placed 20 people with, you're going to have an alarm bell. Okay, these people don't have a first day that goes well. Right. I need to prep my candidates. Listen, this company, day one, things don't always go smoothly. Just be aware that it could not always go well, etc. I have one particular client where we onboard temporary staff, which I know is slightly irrelevant to the placement aftercare, but it's in my head. And they have to log into Amazon workspaces. It is crazy frustrating because they have to log in from their personal account, get an account, get a password, reset that password. And the day kind of goes on a bit like that with read this, read that. And by lunchtime, they're pretty depressed. Right. But all of my candidates that go to this company know that this is going to be their first day, and their first day is probably going to be depressing. And so make sure you go out and have a really nice lunch, because the afternoon probably won't get any better. But day two will be great because they're set up and they've read all the boring confidentiality stuff. Yeah. So I would use it in that way. And then the third thing I think would be thinking about how you adding value to the conversation or whatever you're giving to them, but it's something of value that's practical for them. So at every touch point, kind of think about, is this useful to my candidate and client sector? The resource, the guide, the plan conversation, whatever it is, really think about that value adding. And thanks to Superfast, there's a couple of things in my aftercare program that got a bit of a zoop up from some of the information that I got from you guys. So thank you very much.
You're very welcome. So in summary then, have a timeline. In that timeline, build in a survey, a feedback loop that can give you really helpful data that allows you to then manage situations and candidates and clients. And then finally, value add. Having reasons to get in touch, to have conversations and leverage the kind of content that you have access to, certainly obviously when you're working with ourselves as an SFC member. So yeah, 3 really good, clear things. Now, I'm conscious, I don't want to sort of take up too much of your time, but is there anything that maybe I haven't asked you about that you think, do you know what, there's one more thing, Sharon, that I just kind of like want to add? Is there anything else just as we begin to draw our conversation on that?
I think, close? I probably sound a little bit like a broken record with the whole have a process, keep it real. But I don't think it's really that hard to do this. What I think is hard is actually sitting down and creating the process,
mapping it out,
then working with it and tweaking it as you go along. Yeah. And change is always the hard thing, right? Yeah. But for me, there was a few things that I got from Superfast, but one of the main things that I really love, and we send this out at month 12, and it's actually a career growth planner.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people would maybe take it as they're trying to plan their next job, but we've used that. And I love how you've done this for your clients, is thinking about how they can move that forward as their career in that company.
Yes.
And then we also tie in personal branding.
Right. Ah, nice.
Stole that from you as well.
Yep. Leveraging, making use of resources, Sandra. It's music to my ears.
Stole, isn't it? But yes, I did steal it from you, and I'm very grateful.
That's fine.
I've had some really nice feedback on it too. So,
oh, that's even better. That's even better. Well, look, thank you. I mean, I think you're right. It's not rocket science, is it? However, it is something else to do. It's a process to follow that requires ritual, habit, consistency, discipline, whatever word you want to use. But when you do it and you get it right and you make it work, and you, as you say, getting some great feedback from clients, from candidates, then that's when it really starts to add value and can make a difference. And we are working it in a competitive market. You guys have got competitors, and it's always a case of thinking about, well, how do I stand out? How do I be different? Because your clients, they've got choice. They could go to other companies, and we need to kind of make sure that actually it's Recruitment Central that they're coming to. That's kind of like your key outcome. And this is an additional element that I do often think. It's like, well, yes, we'll do it for the 12 weeks for the rebate period. And I think it's almost like if you're coming into it with that mindset, there's almost a transactional mindset in that, Sandra, isn't there?
Exactly. Once that rebate, or we call it guarantee.
Yeah.
Once that's over, sometimes it's easy to forget.
Yeah. Yeah. Where I think what you've described and outlined and shared with us is something so much more. So really appreciate taking time to share everything with us. And good luck with its continued success.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. And no doubt we'll speak soon. All right. Take care. Bye for now.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
If you enjoy this podcast and this year you are ready to take your marketing to the next level, then check out Superfast Circle. This is a unique marketing program designed specifically for recruiters and their marketeers. You get access to 2 virtual marketing directors, you get consultancy, you get your hand held through the whole process, training, consulting, and we provide content resources. So go over to superfastrecruitment.co.uk/join and check out what's available.